The Mad Lions game, their draft was atrocious, I think. What do you think?
That game was the hardest one for sure. I mean, I don't like their game in game 2 either. The TF with like full AD. I think that was
TF
really hard versus Gragas.
But they were just so far ahead that they should have won the game anyway because they could just play over sides. But like their team just got caught like 5 times in the 5 minutes. But I don't know. Like if they first pick Renekton, like let's take LPL. I mean, hindsight's a beautiful thing because the meta's evolved over the last few days. But this was their first game. First pick Renekton, they go Viego, Jhin. Then enemy team goes Diana, Yasuo, and they pick Kennen. And Kennen into Renekton is getting the push, but it's not really going to win you the game. Like, I feel like this was LPL. If they first pick Renekton, they're going to go Graves or Gwen. They'll pick Zinzao on 2. And then on 3, if they pick Yasuo, Diana, they'll probably just pick Akali or something.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a thing. I mean, it just seems like they really have no idea how they want to play yet. They're just trying a bunch of things, and I feel like whenever they get their first win or whenever something looks decent, they're going to stick to it from then on out. But like I think right now they really have no identity with how they want to play.
And then Akshan 4, I didn't like the Akshan 4 into Yasuo, Diana.
Apparently the Akshan lane is supposed to be really good for like Akshan in the first few levels, which
I mean that makes sense. Works.
I mean, I think if you pick Akshan, you have to be willing to flex it for sure.
Yeah, agreed. But Akshan to me just feels like a champ where you have to invest so much resource into it, but it's just like, do I really want to have a champ that wins over side lane against a tank, for example? Because, I mean, he's just a tank killer. Versus just having an Ornn who will run mid and press R in blind pick, right? And instead, I can just counter pick this Ornn like a Gwen who can actually teamfight, or a Camille who can actually teamfight, and I can draft around. And this Akshan needs resources. He gets ganked once, he's pretty much dead versus meta champs like Zin. If LeBlanc's head on enemy team is dead, TF, whatever the fuck, he just can't play. Maybe it's a scrim champ. I don't know. I don't like using that term. But like, for example, I remember 2020 scrim champ would be like Olaf. You go up 3 levels and then you go on stage and you're all playing Olaf and you're just dead.
Yeah, no, I mean, scrim champs definitely exist. I feel like right now in NA, like we've been seeing, I think we only saw one Hecarim game, but I feel like Hecarim is just the ultimate scrim champ where everyone's going like Muramana Hecarim with Chem Tank. And then they just end up like, they just end up never getting to the Muramana on stage.
But the game against Fnatic, there's a point in the game, 18 minutes in, they get top tier 2, they get top tier 1. They're 6k gold up, and even though TF's the only AP, I mean, it's gonna become a problem in like 5 to 10 minutes time when this Gragas is full armor. Now he's like pretty stacked on armor, but like their game state should be won. But all that happens in the next 5 minutes is they overchase top, try to force Nash, get a pick, overchase, die, lose all their tempo on the map, lose Renekton, Kiana shutdowns, come back on the map, try to push lanes, get caught, Carsey dies, then they can't walk in their own jungle. Lavrov gets caught, dies, then they sit in their own jungle again for the next 2 minutes. Then they walk up on mid wave, they die again, they get caught, both Carsey and Lavrov, and then they just lose Nash. And you're playing a comp like Kiana, Renekton, TF that plays over side lanes, but your mid is just perma dying, or you're perma getting caught, and you can never set up for anything.
I mean, it's definitely rough. I feel like, I mean, obviously you have to talk about the dive in this game. Like the dive set back their tempo like so much because, and then it also accelerates Gragas, which I think is the ultimate counter to their team. If Gragas starts getting items here, you're completely fucked. So
yeah, I mean, the dive was scuffed. I think the game is over here, but I will say Vitality kind of recovered well from the dive because mid was lost from that, top was evened out, jungle was behind, bot was already losing because of the matchup, but then they still got like 4 towers by 18 minutes.
Yeah, definitely they played like the early mid game better, but I didn't really feel like that was, I mean, so there was like a lot of problems. I feel like Razork had a really weird game versus Vitality. I mean, obviously we're going into replays and stuff, so you can't see exactly what he did, but I just don't see a world where that top dive happens, Kiana gets absolutely like nothing off of it and dies, and then the Viego is just even with the Kiana somehow immediately after. Like, surely you can take a camp, surely you can do something to punish the Kiana for that mistake.
Especially in like their game 3, Vid versus XL.
XL, yeah.
The game should not be playing out as the game is playing out, if that makes sense. Like, Vex is playing Ignite lane, and by level 5, Perks cannot lane on his tier 1 whatsoever. And he needs jungle to help him push out in base. He's already down 10 CS, but he's got a jungle, like he's playing Viego, and he's helping his Vex push out because he doesn't take TP. So Perks is at his tier 2 by 6 minutes. Bot dives 2v2 before level 6. So both mid and bot are lost from just individual skill. Top is winning, but Alphari just kind of playing his own game here, despite like one gank top from Selfmade. He's just winning top, which is great, but that's kind of it. Like Alphari just won top and then played his own game. His TP flanks were just like, he was overforcing on his own. He looked for solo picks on bot waves when his team's not even nearby. I just think there's so many individual mistakes already from like the root of the game, if that makes sense.
I guess my question would be, why do you think that this always happens with Alphari? Because the same thing has been happening for like 2 years now, I think. Like, it's been really noticeable, which is he just wins lane, and then afterwards it's just like there's a bunch of weird TP decisions. Like, it feels like he doesn't really understand like how he should engage or like how he should be flanking in a team fight. It just feels like he doesn't get much done with his leads throughout the game. I mean, like, we see things like he TP's bot, I think at like 14-15 minutes without ulti after he just ulti top and just completely wastes it and then has to go back top. Why do you think this keeps on happening? Because it just seems like a theme now that's consistently going on.
Well, I won't be able to speak for like NA games, but like just the last 3 games in EU, if I look at just from draft, right, you're playing Kennen into Renekton, he needs jungle. Bot is playing an Alistar lane into Karthus. I think they're not really playing for bot too much in this game. They're playing for solo lanes. Against Fnatic, he's playing Renekton lane, and his bot's playing Jinx Rakan weak side. So everyone's playing top side. XL game's playing Wukong into Jace, and he was the only winning lane, so Selfmade went there naturally. Like the last 3 games of Vitality, they're always playing top side, either because of draft or because Alphari is the only one really winning his lane. And he is getting ahead, but then I ask myself, like, I mean, for sure some of his TPs were terrible. Like this one especially right here, where he's like TPing in. Yeah, TPing in here feels really... No, TPing in at 18 minutes to bot, like to try and collapse onto XL. I can kind of get it, but his team's just so far away and can't really do anything. The TP bot as well, when he's ahead, kind of throwing his lead. Here, he TPs bot and gets nothing as well. Like, his TPs are definitely... This was the next TP when you're ahead. You're TPing bot, you get nothing. Jace gets a free lane now and actually takes a lot of your tower. Perks has roamed down, LeBlanc gets a free base. And they get... The TPing bot, they get absolutely nothing, so... If it's been like this for the last few years, then I think it's like maybe a him problem, which I think is fixable. Like TP situation and how to fight is quite an easy problem to fix, or how to use your lead. It's really simple how to transition a winning lane into another winning lane. But I also think the last 3 days of Vitality is just the whole team's disjointed. I don't think anyone really knows what the fuck they're doing. It looks like.
Yep.
I heard in scrims Vitality was murdering people, and I know that Alphari got COVID as well. So I don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt, because going 0-3 against especially like XL is terrible. 2 of their drafts were just really off meta. And then the 3rd game, it's just so disjointed. Like, Vex should do well into LeBlanc. Jinx Thresh should not really die to a Xayah lane. Wukong is winning against Jace before level 6. And Viego's just power farming, but they're still losing because, I mean, nothing actually came from any of it. Because Vex is losing lane, Jinx Thresh is losing lane.
I mean, the Vex losing lane was all about not taking TP, because he was actually doing fine in lane, and then the LeBlanc TP'd back. And I mean, if you're going to be playing Ignite, you need to actually like then push out at like level 4, so Vex can get a recall, and then everything will be fine. But he's just stuck in lane from like, I mean, let's see, he's stuck in lane from like minute 4 without TP till about minute 6, where he can't actually trade, he can't do anything, and he's just down health and 3 corrupting potion charges. So
yeah, and the thing is, like, what are Vitality doing? You're playing Ignite, Electrocute Vex. Your first, like, I don't want to be that guy, but your first Ignite is used at like 14 minutes on a bot dive and it gets nothing. And then past then, your Ignite is up the whole game, kind of. And it never really finds anything. Like, as much as I like the Ignite Vex for burst, I feel like you kind of need TP for lane. And credit to XL for playing well, but like, even the Fnatic game, after this 18-minute scenario sequence, when you're a tier 2 top stead, enemy tier 2 top stead, mid tier 1 stead, and you can play for bot tier 2 so easy because your Renekton TF are 2 items. Like, you should just win the game. All you do has to happen is your bot lane has to catch waves, and you just push both sides, and they can never push anything mid because they'll lose too much on side lanes. But if you're just constantly getting caught,
I want to see more of it, and like I want to see it played like you actually have Ignite. You know, like if Ignite versus TP, where your jungler actually plays for a push out, or he plays like early gank when you're trading heavily. Because you can obviously, like, yeah, you can go more into lethal range if you're willing to take Ignite into lane. Like, I'm not completely sold that Ignite is just not playable because TP cheats it. I feel like this is like the ideal situation for TP. You trade all 3 health potion charges, you both go to half-life, and then you just TP back, and then you have the lane 1 from there. So I think that you could play these situations a lot better towards Ignite and actually get into a game state where your Ignite will actually give you advantage in lane. If he actually gets a recall off, if he gets a reset, he comes back to lane level 4 and he has Ignite advantage. I mean, I think that he can do what he did in the first 3 levels in actually
Yeah,
like
yeah.
shit on the LeBlanc.
I agree. I think the TP is always like the safe bet. Ignite can work, but it's game dependent, right? If your support can move mid or at least like get you a good base, push out, or if your jungle actually has some kind of push or a prio in river and can actually get to mid first and give you a push out or chunk out enemy mid to force his TP early, then it's always good to have Ignite. But like in this case, his bot lane's on the tower and his jungle can't. Like against LeBlanc, I don't think there's any jungler other than Lee Sin that can actually pressure LeBlanc, really.
His bot lane should be winning, right? Like his bot lane should actually be allowing a support move mid with Thresh, Jinx versus Rakan, Xayah.
I feel like the Jinx dictates the lane. I'm pretty sure Jinx can push in the wave whenever she wants. But she just has to be careful of, Xayah, Rakan all in. Like if she dodges, like here, if you dodge Rakan W, you just dictate the lane. If you want it to push into you, you can let it push into you. If you want to fast push, you can fast push. Like Jinx lanes can always fast push the lane whenever they want. In a straight 2v2.
I mean, I think it's really weird the way that they're positioning. I think that they're on wrong sides. If you look at the lane, like you see, so I feel like either Rakan, the Thresh needs to be able to like stand in between the Rakan and the Jinx, or the Thresh has to be on the opposite side where he can like prevent the Xayah from following up. But it's really weird that they're like crossed and Labrov can never cancel and he can actually not help Carzzy at all.
Yeah, I agree. Like the Thresh has 3 ways to play this lane. The way number 1 is playing Lantern when you're weak side and your jungler's top side and you think enemy jungler's bot side, which is not the case this time because they know Sin's top side. Way number 2 is he stands on top of Jinx, like you said, and flays Rakan W and then just turns every time they walk up. And number 3 is he plays a little bit more up and threatens the Xayah, right, when the Rakan goes in. Didn't really feel like he did either of the 3. And Xayah can fast push waves if she wants with like QE, but to do this she has to use, I think, a lot of mana to actually burst the wave down. And if she uses her, if the thing is, Jinx can push waves with auto attacks with rockets, right? And if Xayah QEs a wave, then that makes it so Jinx Thresh can just walk up on them. Like if you're QEing the wave to fast push to try to match her push, then Thresh can just walk up and kill you because like you have no QE, so you're useless.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fourth way would just be reversing your positions, right? Like you play on the AD carry, so you like reverse where Labrov and Carzzy are standing because Rakan can actually just cross really easily. If they're lined up like this, Rakan can actually just W onto the Jinx and there's nothing stopping it. But if you just play opposite with your AD carry, Rakan can never W and your Jinx can poke the Rakan. So they're literally just on the wrong sides of this lane.
Here, Carzzy just wants to hit 2 range creeps to get the wave to push, so he can crash the next one as well. But look at the Rof, like what is he doing here? I think he's not flaying Rakan W, he's not threatening Xayah at all, he's not playing Lantern. Yeah, like what is happening here? Like there's nothing. Like as much as I want to say Carzzy shouldn't get hit by this Rakan W, like Labrov can also do a lot here to stop this from happening. Then he walks up, flays the Rakan after he's already been knocked up, Lantern's behind Carzzy so he can't Lantern flash him out.
Yep.
And then he hooks the Rakan, and the Xayah is still hitting.
I mean,
and even if Carzzy flashes here, he's dead. Yeah.
It's a 1v2 from Carzzy. Carzzy's playing the lane without a support in that 2v2. Yeah.
It's just so many individual mistakes. Like the lanes, especially the drafts, like everything looks so disjointed from Vitality. And as much as I want to say, like, it's week 1, you know, they will probably bounce back. I just think that they could have made their lives so much simpler. Like, my best example that I came up with is just Rogue. Like, do I think Rogue is the best team in Europe? No. Do I think they're going to be top 5? Probably. But look at their drafts, man. Ornn, Xin Zhao, LeBlanc, Jinx, Rakan. Yeah. Renekton, Victor, Jinx, Lulu. Victor, Jinx, Rakan. Like, how easy is it for them to win the games when enemy teams are drafting like Viego, Jhin, Renekton, Gnar, shit like this. Like, all they have to do is just scale, play for dragons, and they're gonna win. They don't have to overcomplicate it by playing like TF Kiana overside or Akshan lanes into fucking Diana Yasuo. Like, all they have to do is just play for teamfight. Yes, they were against easy teams, but they're winning in 20 minutes with scaling comps. Like, it's so easy, I think, to just pick scaling, teamfight in early spring, and teams won't know how to end the game. And for obviously, this won't last forever, but it just makes it so week 1 is just simple as fuck.
They just know who they are. Like Rogue, they look at their team, they're like, okay, we instantly know who we are. Like with this team, if we have Comp and Larson in this meta, like we're gonna be playing the Odo Classic, weak side top lane. Like he'll always be fine. Marong, you just do your shit. Larson, you're gonna play control mages every game, and we just play towards like these scaling bot laners that are really insane in the meta right now. So it feels like Rogue has an idea of their own identity, and Vitality, they have no clue. Like, what type of team is Vitality? Like, I feel like right now they look like they're a team that's going to be like weak side bot. They're going to be playing through Alphari in the early game. That looks like what they want to do, but I don't think that they're like set on that. I don't think that everyone is on board with the plan or like conscious of it at all points. So I just feel like in general, you have to have some type of like team identity, so then you can like limit the things that you're working on. Because I feel like Vitality is one of those teams that probably they have so many good players in so many different roles where I feel like their scrims are like, oh, everyone can play everything at any time. So we just kind of like, you know, play to whatever the win condition of the game is, instead of actually limiting what you're working on, so you actually have more success within specific areas.
Yeah, for sure. I just look at their plays as well, and if you're having like COVID out of the game, or you're having like issues out of the game or whatever, or you know, you lose game 1 and you just want to make sure you're just at least sitting on 1 or 2 wins at the end of the weekend, I think you can just pick simple champs, right? Selfmade can just pick Jarvan, Zin, Perks. I'm sure we can play Corki Victor, Carsey, Jinx, sure. You know, don't really have to overcomplicate it in week 1 of spring, you know, and try to flex a little bit with the drafts.
Are their egos gonna allow that? Are you gonna be able to just be like, no guys, like we're not that insane yet, like just Alphari, can you play like an Ornn game here? Ornn Victor. Selfmade, play some Xin Zhao. Like, I know you're really good at Kiana, but just play the Xin Zhao this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they have really good players. They really do have good players. I'm sure of it. As much as like you can meme them for losing these games, like their players are really good. They will probably find a way to get things to come together. I just feel like it's just a waste of a week. I mean, it's just like not only like losing the 3 games, but just like public perception is just going to be terrible for them now until they really turn it around and like get people to believe in them. Yep. But I guess they don't really give a fuck about public perception as much as everyone's probably memeing and saying like Vitality, Super Team, Keck. I don't think any of them really give a fuck, probably.
Definitely. I mean, also they had a relatively difficult week, so it's not like the worst. It's not the worst thing ever, right? Like you played against what, Mad and Fnatic, which are probably 2 of the top 3 teams. I mean, I think that in general, like it's not as bad. The only really bad loss is this XL loss. Outside of that, I think that it's okay. It's understandable to like go 1-2 or something. And
you could we could dig in the vault and look for like optimal plays in what they're doing, but it doesn't feel like they're making many plays. And if anything, their players are just reactionary and like they're trying to TP to react to a play. They're trying to, I don't know, everything just feels really reactionary rather than like Selfmade's early ganks top, especially in the XL game. And just individual mistakes, slightly poor drafting in day 1 to day 3. I think this draft is not bad, but it is what it is.